It is almost impressive how Marjorie Taylor Greene manages to get every single fact wrong in this clip. Let's watch it so I can debunk it.
This whole thing is the most repulsive, disgusting thing happening, and the American people are the ones writing the check. And I absolutely hate everybody here that is doing this. I mean, I seriously hate them for doing this to the American people and paying for the murder and slaughter of people in Ukraine. Vladimir Putin has not said he wants to go march across Europe and take Europe. And the reality is Ukraine is not even a NATO member nation. But if you want to know something, Lloyd Austin and the others here, more than anything, want to send your uncles, your cousins, and your sons and daughters to the front lines in Ukraine, because that is the only country that for some weird, sick, and evil reason that they care about.
Alright, I have more clips to play, but first, let's go through and debunk the 4 major claims made by Moscow Marge in that clip. Firstly, she said, the American people are the ones writing the check to Ukraine.
And the American people are the ones writing the check.
Which is not entirely true. She seems to have a fundamental misunderstanding, like most Americans, of the way in which we are actually providing aid. President Biden and Congress have sent $75 billion in the form of humanitarian assistance, but mostly military equipment over the past 2 years. When you put that against the $900 billion budget of our Defense Department, it's really not that much. It's about 5% of our military budget per year over the past 2 years. And when you put that against the $2 trillion we spent in Afghanistan, which we got nothing out of, the return on investment starts to look pretty good. We give 5% of our military budget and we get to cripple one of our largest enemies, who, to Marjorie Taylor Greene, they're actually allies, but to us, to American citizens, Russia is our enemy. But secondly, a lot of the aid we're sending is in the form of military equipment that we have a surplus of, stockpiled military equipment that is nearing its expiration date and that we would destroy anyways. We also send new military equipment, but a lot of the aid we're sending is just surplus military equipment. Listen to the way that Ben Hodges puts it. Ben Hodges was the commanding general for the United States Army in Europe and worked logistics for NATO and served in the military. This guy has a lot of experience. Listen to how he puts it.
The only thing that stops us from providing these weapons, these capabilities, is our political will. The excuses about the expiration date of ATACMS, that's exactly what they are, excuses. If some of these weapons are at or past their expiration date, there's a good chance that most of them still can be used. Let's give those to Ukrainian armed forces, who have shown themselves to be very, very innovative and skillful at integrating any capability they receive into an effective weapon. Let's do that instead of destroying these things at home.
Not to mention, a good portion of the aid that we do send falls under the World War II style lend-lease program, where we can lend or lease military equipment to a country who needs it immediately, and they pay it back with interest over time. This article reads, the Ukrainian lend-lease is akin to the World War II era bill, which enabled allied nations such as Britain and the Soviet Union to receive necessary equipment to defeat the Axis. The World War II bill stated that the United States could lend or lease military equipment to any nation in which their defense is vital for American national security. With Russia as our second biggest geopolitical rival, with a president who has openly stated he aims to reconquer territories of Peter the Great and destabilize our alliances, the Lend-Lease was effectively justified for Ukraine. This was further solidified when Yevgeny Prigozhin, who mysteriously died in a plane crash a year back, the CEO of Wagner openly stated that he would continue to interfere in American elections at the behest of Russian interests. So to act like investing 5% of our military budget every year into an allied country who is trying to protect its borders is somehow hurting American citizens is very dishonest. But what else can you expect from Moscow Marge? The second claim she makes is that she hates them meaning US politicians, for doing this to the American people and paying for the murder and slaughter of the people in Ukraine.
I mean, I seriously hate them for doing this to the American people and paying for the murder and slaughter of people in Ukraine.
What about Putin? She blames the American politicians and the Ukrainian politicians, but she places no blame on Vladimir Putin for launching an attack on his next door neighbor and trying to annex that land, trying to grab territory, which we haven't seen happen in decades. Moscow Marge somehow likes to ignore the fact that Vladimir Putin is the one who unilaterally launched this war on Ukraine, and now Ukraine is playing defense. Conservatives are all about self-defense and protecting yourself until it comes to Russia invading neighboring territory. territory. And also, the people of Ukraine have shown time and time again that they want to be a Western-aligned country with sovereign borders. So these people want to be fighting for their freedom. Nobody is forcing them to fight. The American politicians aren't forcing them to fight on our behalf. We're simply supporting them in their mission of self-defense. The next claim that she makes is Putin has not said he wants to march across Europe and take Europe.
Vladimir Putin has not said he wants to go march across Europe and take Europe.
From a fundamental point of view, why would you trust anything Vladimir Putin says? He also said he wasn't going to invade Ukraine. He wasn't going to annex territory. And when he did that, he said it was for denazification. He has lied every single step of the way. He is almost a pathological liar who thinks it's justified in his head, kind of like Donald Trump. And also, if you look at the recent Tucker Carlson interview with Vladimir Putin, Putin is spewing lies the entire time about the history of Russia, the history of Ukraine, and his goals while invading Ukraine. And Tucker Carlson does not push back for a second. So it does not surprise me that Marjorie Taylor Greene believes every word that Putin says. But also, if Marjorie lived in 1939, she would definitely be the person saying, oh, Hitler will stop at Poland. There's no use in protecting them. Hitler doesn't want to go on a rampage throughout Europe. And how did that turn out? But even all of that aside, Vladimir Putin has said he wants to restore the former Russian Empire. I mean, he invaded Georgia back in 2008. He invaded Crimea in 2014. And now he has launched this full-scale invasion of Ukraine. He has said multiple times that this reminds him of Peter the Great, and he wants to restore the Russian Empire. Listen to this quote. As his grip on power has tightened, Putin has grown increasingly fixated on the idea of reasserting Russian authority over Ukraine, and has come to view this as a historic mission. On the eve of the full-scale invasion 2 years ago, he described Ukraine as an inalienable part of our own history, culture, and spiritual space. In summer 2022, Putin directly compared the current war to the imperial conquest of 18th century Russian Tsar Peter the Great and claimed to be returning historically Russian lands. He's also given plenty of speeches where he hints at missing the old Soviet Empire. He wants to restore the former Soviet Union. That is Vladimir Putin's goal, and the fact that that flies over Moscow Marge's head does not surprise me whatsoever. The final claim that Marjorie makes is that they want to send your sons and daughters to Ukraine, which could not be farther from the truth.
Lloyd Austin and the others here, more than anything, want to send your uncles, your cousins, and your sons and daughters to the front lines in Ukraine.
President Biden has repeatedly said that we will not go boots on the ground in Ukraine. That is never going to be our intention. We have tried so hard to keep this war contained within Ukraine's borders and make sure that NATO soldiers and Russian soldiers do not cross swords and start World War III.
Close because they see me up close. They know I mean exactly every single word I say, and I'm not full of shit just like Mike Johnson is, and I'm actually going to follow through with actions instead of lie to people on television and in press conferences and out on the campaign trail.
Now, Mike Johnson is full of shit on a lot of things when it comes to election fraud, or when it comes to January 6th, or when it comes to dangling Ukrainian aid in front of the Ukrainian people. But Marjorie Taylor Greene is only calling him full of shit because he wants to help our allies in Ukraine. She loves stoking the flames of this Republican civil war, and hey, I'm not complaining. Republican dysfunction is absolutely terrible for our government, but it shows the average American citizen that Republicans are incapable of governing, and honestly, the infighting that's happening within the Republican caucus right now is only going to help us as we get closer to election day. My name is Adam Mockler. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like, comment a blue heart if you got this far, make sure to subscribe with the notification bell on, and most importantly, make sure to have a great day.